Last week, we looked at the evolution of the sugar industry since its beginning in the 17th century. In the mid-18th century, there was as many as 400 plantations in the counties of Essequibo, Demerara, and Berbice, which by the 21st century were reduced to 8 estates. This week, we will look at some of the reasons for this contraction in the sugar industry. In the year 1829, there was a progressive reduction of plantations to 238. By 1890, there were 138. Then in the 1900s, the plantation had reduced to 80. During the 1900s, there was a progressive decline in estates, so much that by 1922 there were 39 estates, and by 1967 there were 18, and by 1976 there were 11. This was the year that the sugar industry was nationalized. After nationalization in 1978, there were 10 remaining estates. Factory operations were centralized, and further reduction in operations were done. The operations changed from 62 sugar factories in 1897 to 21 in 1928, and later 10 by 1978. The improvement in modern technology also led to the contraction of estates. As modern factories were built and could have ground larger quantities of canes, cultivations were merged to satisfy that demands. Joining us to share some of the historical information is Mr. Earl John, a former student of Queen's College who was recruited as a cadet at Booker's in 1958 and was subsequently employed at the organization's head office. He served for 21 years in several management positions in the Human Resources Department, including the highest level as director. In 1976, Gaisuku faced some different challenges, which caused the company not only to contract further, but lose critical skills and revenue.
Some of it will have to do with the weather. Some of it will have to do with competing industries and employment opportunities developing, and the migration. Because of the depreciation in the quality of life in Guyana, a number of people migrated and a lot of the skills came out of the sugar industry. There was a time when the first choice for employment when people returned qualified from overseas was sugar the first time. And when they couldn't make it into sugar because either they didn't have the right qualification or we had a saturation of people, they had to go elsewhere.
Sugar in Guyana was at one time among the largest contributor of income tax. In 1970, the corporation was recognized as the most dynamic sugar industry in the region, one of the largest sugar industry throughout the Caribbean, and definitely the first choice for employment in Guyana.